Ready? Yes, ready. Everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Legislative Committee meeting for July 1st. If Dan Butler would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we have a roll call, Perla? Yeah.
Ogalla,
Here.
Berkowitz,
Here.
Brooks, Bullock, Butler,
Here.
Hickey,
Here.
Ortiz. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is approval of minutes from our Legislative Committee meeting from June 3rd. Can I get a motion?
Motion Butler.
Motion Butler,
Second.
second Berkowitz. Any comments? Could we get a roll call, please?
Ogalla,
Yes.
Berkowitz,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hickey.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on, we have our miscellaneous legislative reports from ISACO. Those are attached to your agenda. Moving on from there, we have old business. We have our federal legislative update agenda, and I think they're out there. Thank you so much for waiting. We've had very long meetings earlier this morning, so thank you for waiting. When you're ready, go ahead. Mike's, you're muted on your end. We can see that.
Can you hear me now?
There you go. Hi.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. KP Pratt here. Brett and John are with me. I think Brett might be joining late. But the biggest news today happened about an hour ago was the Senate passed the budget reconciliation bill. There are still some things that they're putting together in terms of a summary. They did a last minute amendment called a wraparound bill, just making different changes to the bill. But what we do know is the bill will probably cost about $3.3 trillion. There are some changes to SNAP. There are some changes to Medicaid. And as I said, we're working on a summary right now for you. That bill is now moved on to the House. The House is meeting in its Rules Committee right now, and they expect that bill to come to the floor tomorrow. The Senate vote was very close. It was 51-50. Vice President Vance had to cast the tie-breaking vote. 3 Republicans, Senator Collins, Tillis, and Paul, all voted against it. And on the way over to the House, we think it will pass, but there are still some holdouts. Some fiscal hawks think that it doesn't save enough money. Some more moderate Republicans are concerned about any Medicaid cuts. So that's really the big news. It's been happening for about a week now, and the Senate spent the weekend and through last night working on amendments.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we'll look forward to whatever the summary is, because I know everyone's talking about SNAP and Medicaid, and actually what is it that they're changing is important to everybody, I think. So,
Of course.
do you have anything else?
Well, one thing, I know that the board has the federal agenda, and I just wanted to make sure that the board knows that any kind of changes that you want to recommend and agree on at the board level, we'd be happy to work with you, make any changes. We'd love to talk with you anytime about questions or comments you may have about what's in the agenda. Our agendas are usually very large, as you can see. Some of the proposals in the agenda are wide-ranging from, say, a national standpoint, when other municipalities and counties have things of concern, for example, like CDBG funding. But we also do our best working with you and the departments to really focus on Will County priorities. And then we use the agenda, and I hope we will be able to do this soon with you. We use the agenda to talk with the congressional delegation to really put forward what's most important. So I look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions or comments, either today or later. But I think from a DC standpoint, that's the big news.
Okay, thank you. Julie has a question, so let's see if it's her. Yep.
Thank you, Judy. So last month, I mentioned to Brett that I would like to have included in here the Asian carp. I don't know if I didn't see it in here. Maybe I overlooked it, but pretty much every year I've brought that up. It is a major concern here to the county. I think it deserves to be have an individual mention here in our agenda. Again, I'm asking again, I think it's our waterways are critical here in Will County. And again, you're talking about nature, so I think we should be keeping it front and center and possibly using that as leverage to bring in more dollars here to the county. I mean, that alone to me, I think just simply states how important and critical Will County is to the region. So is it possible to have that put into our agenda?
Sure. Let me suggest that we write something up and make sure it addresses what you and the board need addressed, and then once the board has approval, we'll insert it into the agenda. Does that work for you?
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
sure.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, we have a question from Dan Butler.
So I know that you mentioned the Medicaid and what's the other one?
SNAP.
SNAP, right. So I know on Medicaid that they were expanding the age range for people to do community service who are receiving those benefits. And I know in SNAP that they were trying to make some sort of rules about, not spending the money on junk food and just having it on more healthy food, as, Kennedy has been, pushing for. I was just wondering, on that cost that you said that this bill was going to include, does that also include the SNAP program and the Medicare program in that cost?
It does. That's a net cost. So there are savings in the SNAP program and there are savings in the Medicaid program. So taking into account the President Trump's 2017 tax cuts and other changes they've made, the whole bill will likely cost about $3.3 trillion. And just to address your SNAP comment, the health food or healthy non-junk food was not allowed in the Senate bill. There was a Senate procedure that had to take that out. And then you're absolutely correct about Medicaid work rules. The new rules go from 19 to 64 age.
Well, it's encouraging to see that the new bill does also support those needed funds for Medicaid and SNAP. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. I don't see any other anyone else asking any questions right now. And the only thing, KP, thank you for that update. And hopefully that we can make a plan for the federal legislative agenda for one of the upcoming months to sit down in detail and just review it at committee. Just have that as a focus of a committee so we can review it, go through in detail and review whether we want to keep something or add something. Julie wanted to add the Asian carp. Of course, everyone has to agree on that to add it, but I appreciate you taking the time to write something up for us to review. Thank you.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Thanks, you too. Bye. Okay, next we're moving on to our state legislative update. And I see Matt is out there and Ann both out there in the outer sphere of the world. And you're muted, so just so you know. Okay, so Matt, how about, what do you have to say?
Well, so we last reported to you just shortly, just a couple days after the end of the Springfield State Legislative. There really has been very little state government activity since. The legislature has not been back to Springfield since we last spoke. The governor did sign the budget that was passed into law. That budget does have within public funding local health protection grants at 25 million, which that's not new funds necessarily. That's the flat figure, I believe. We continue a county-related issue was transit. The issue of governance had been there. That for the suburban counties, I think that's largely been addressed. I don't know that that'll change. A bill did pass the Senate, but did not pass the House, and that was largely over how the transit bill would be funded. Those conversations really have not picked up yet. There are expected to be subject matter conversations among key stakeholders and legislators on a number of topics, transit and energy in particular, starting after the holiday. The legislature isn't expected back until the veto session, which begins in the middle of October. There is the possibility of a special session to be called, perhaps for transit legislation between now and then, but we do not necessarily expect that. One other thing that has come up since we last spoke, and it was a recent announcement today, in fact. Well, Governor Pritzker announced that he was running for re-election. And today he announced his running mate will be former state representative, former deputy governor under Pritzker, Christian Mitchell. So that will be, in all likelihood, the Democratic ticket for governor as we move into the 2026 election cycle. And I don't know if there's anything else that I didn't add in, but with that, I'll just take any questions.
So does anyone have any questions about it? Okay, Kelly Hickey has something. Hang on a sec. Go ahead, Kelly.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I just wondered, are they going to be able to work on the transit bill during veto session? I mean, is that a possibility if they don't go into special session?
It is, yeah. They look, if the legislature and the governor's office all agree on the best way to fund the transit system, then they can come in and vote on that. They could potentially do that in a veto session. One of the challenges is those bills would require a supermajority vote to pass if they have an immediate effective date at that time. So think about, the House didn't have 60 votes to pass what the Senate passed. If they tried in veto, they would need 71 votes. So there are some challenges to doing a global resolution of the transit issue in the veto session, but it is not out of the realm of possibility. There's also a very good chance that this is wrapped up essentially by the end of the calendar year with a vote on it in the first days of January, because once the calendar turns to January, all those bills would have a simple majority vote threshold again, rather than the 60% supermajority. So we consider it more likely that there's a resolution in January than in veto. But veto is not a possibility if there's a broad agreement.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I have a couple questions, Matt. I'm wondering if you've seen anything going on with the RFP for the proposed Peatone Airport. Have you heard any rumblings with that?
I have not. I have not heard of any new interest or development. So no, I am not aware of anything in that regard.
Okay. And I know that we've been working with our SACO group and UCCI for legislative changes for solar. Do you think there's any chance that that would be put into an energy omnibus bill at the end of the year? Have you heard any conversations? I mean, here at the county, we've worked really hard to only say no to those where, we're very close to residential areas versus any other reasoning. And so I'm wondering if you've heard anything, if anyone's receptive to that.
I am not aware of, the energy bill, as you know, collapsed of its own weight at the end of session, at the end of May. There will continue to be an effort to try to do something on energy. I did not hear at any point that there was in any way a rollback of the legislation's action of a few years ago, taking away authority from counties. And I don't anticipate that they will include that in a bill the next time there's a large energy bill.
Okay. And then the only other thing that I would like you and Ann to look at is, we've had new members on this committee, and we've looked at the state legislative agenda, and there's interest in maybe making some changes to the way we put the state legislative agenda together, when we create it and how we update it and things like that. So do you think maybe you and Ann could give us some ideas of what we could do with our state legislative agenda to make it easier for you guys to work with? Because if it's easier for you guys to take our message to Springfield in a certain manner, then we can work on developing something like that.
Well, sure, we're happy to discuss that. I think one of the things that's really important, I think to the extent that you guys can work through the process earlier and be maybe finished and have everything done on your end, maybe early November, that gives more of an opportunity for us to work with whatever that agenda is in terms of reaching out to potential legislative sponsors, if that's part of what's needed, or to work with staff to get legislation drafted. The more time we have, the better before session starts next year, the better opportunity we have to work that agenda.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great to know. So then, anyway, so then maybe we'll just take it offline to look at formatting changes as far as how we currently have it done. I know that a couple members here have looked at different ideas and stuff like that. So maybe we'll have that conversation. So everyone on the committee, if you guys and anyone else in the room who's not on the committee, if you could go ahead and look at the state legislative agenda, and maybe if you have your ideas as to what you think would be a format change we might want to use. We've used the same format for a long time. Get those emails to Chuck, please. And then Destiny and Chuck and I could sit down and say, what do we want to do? And then maybe have a conversation with Matt and Ann and say, this is great, but doing something like this might make a suggestion. Well, that might make more sense than what we currently do it. And then it's good to know that we should have it done by early November. That gives us a target to work on. And everyone in the legislative committee should understand if there's something specific we want a legislator to sponsor for us, then we need to get that together, because then Matt and Ann work to find a sponsor from Will County representatives to take that legislation forward. So, all right. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to ask? Nope. I guess that's it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next month. And then I will look at our state legislative agenda and then begin having the conversation. Destiny's a new chair. Chuck is a new chief of staff. Jackie's new. So we'll work on that, and hopefully we can have like a better outcome, because there's always something you can tweak and make something better than what you've started with. So thank you guys. Have a great 4th.
Thank you all. Have a great holiday.
Thank you. Okay. Other new business? Anyone have any other new business? I don't have anything except for what, I suggested you guys do. We have no new business. Do we have any public comment? Do we have any public comment? No public comment online. Okay. Announcements and reports by the chair. And so today, acting chair, like I said, I think it'd be great if we have the conversation for any kind of changes that we want to look in format of the state legislative agenda. I know that you and Kelly, you and Dawn had some ideas. I say, let's bring them up. Let's discuss it. And I think the best way to look at both the federal and state legislative agenda is to focus. And during the summer month, it's good because they're so slow down in Springfield. We wouldn't have to have our our state lobbyists, we could just give our federal and sit down and work through any changes with that. And I'll work with Destiny and Chuck on getting that done, but please take the time, put your email together so we can get some ideas. And you guys out in the netherworld out there too, anything that you guys see that you're looking forward, obviously you heard Matt said we should get it done and passed so it's ready to go in November. So that means we need to pass it in October so they have it ready for November 1st. If you guys want to go ahead and look at your area of the agenda, that I'm talking to Health Department, they're the only ones out there. That would help a lot. So then we can get started on that, because I know they usually have a large list of things, and we try and break it down to the priority issues to take forward. So executive session, we have no need for an executive session today. Okay, so I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion Butler, second. Berkowitz, all in favor? All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you.